What up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast, talking a little bit about the tarantula hobby. As you all know that follow me, I do am a part of the tarantula hobby, and I do have currently 17 different species of tarantula on my own. Uh, Clearly starting out with beginner spiders and then work my way up to some old worlds. Before I get into any more, I do want to say hello to Anthony Jordan from Movies and Gaming, as well as Big Bad Wolf, who's also here with us today. And what does he say here? I can see that the OBT is a flagship showcases. The OBT is certainly one of the more unique colors, also one of the more unique temperaments of a tarantula that anyone can own. Obviously, today I'll be talking a little bit about the OBT in terms of rehousing. That's sort of what this video is about. Usually, I do just spotlights on the tarantulas that I have on my own in my own collection. But in this, I thought it was kind of something I wanted to kind of talk about because since I got back in the hobby like 4 years ago, I've learned a bit more how to kind of deal with rehousing and moving tarantulas from one enclosure to another, and it's not. Some spiders are much easier than others, and I got a video later by Dave what's going to be kind of surprising for some people because even though he's really, really good at rehousing and keeping calm while he transfers spiders to different enclosures, it'll be pretty interesting how you see how he deals with his own female OBT, which is probably the nicest spider I've ever seen move from one enclosure to another. Although I did have a female OBT a few months back, and she wasn't near as pissy as the male that I got. So they do have their own temperament. So that is something to take in consideration. But one thing that I was a little concerned about was I watched some of these other videos from these content creators. And while I'm not here to put anyone on blast, I have to wonder to myself, like, are they doing it just for content? Like, are they trying to be risky for the sake of being risky, or is it for clicks? Is it for to be edgy in some way in the hobby itself? I don't know. So one video I have is by someone by Jen's Peculiar Exotics, and don't know a lot about her. I think she's kind of new to the hobby itself. Maybe look within the last 2 or 3 years. I think maybe. But I had some concerns about her latest video about her rehousing of her OBT, and so I just wanted to kind of talk about it because the one concern that I always have is, if you have pets or if the spider gets hurt, gets lost, could hurt you, especially if it's like one that's an old world that has some significant venom. There never has been like a death recorded by a tarantula bite. However, they can be painful and they can really make you sick. So I think taking care of how you handle them, even if you're doing it for content, is very important. And so, I just want to kind of point out to what I think is some bad choices this young lady makes while doing her rehousing. But I will start by saying that no one is perfect. Everyone knows me. Anyone who's followed me with it a long time now, within the last few weeks, I stupidly left my door open to my Mexican redleg Salem. She got out, couldn't find her for a couple days. Finally found her behind the TV amazingly. My cats did not find her first. She's not a venomous spider, but big enough to hurt either the cats or, kicks hairs or whatever. So we're lucky that we didn't have any problems with after she got us. She went on walkabout, as they would say. Let's see, Anthony. Yeah, man. It can be nasty, dude. It's, I'd be probably going to the hospital. And the thing is, I say there's been no deaths recorded by tarantula bites, but you don't know how people will react. Because if you're allergic to bees and stuff like that, I'm assuming any kind of bite from a spider, with strong venom, could kick that allergic reaction into overdrive. So even though we haven't had a recorded one, who knows what's happens if you're somebody that's allergic to bites from insects and arachnids and stuff like that. So now one thing I want to talk about first, I'm going to pull up this little thing here, and you might not see it as well as I do, but on I'll read it. So basically, the risk involved with tarantula rehousing. There are two main risks of rehousing a tarantula, excluding the chance that the tarantula spider could get lost during the move. As tarantulas are not domesticated, they will always defend themselves against any and all threats, especially if they're unable to escape. In my case, Salem got out. She strolled, but she wasn't threatened by anything, so she just kind of placed herself behind the TV, and that was it. Even though most tarantulas are venomous, this venom is unlikely to result in serious injuries or fatalities. You can read more venom here. The irritating hairs, however, can be shot from the tarantula's legs and cause irritation to humans. Yes. I've told people about this. My Brazilian black, for whatever reason, her hairs got on me one time and I was itching for a fucking month because I didn't wash my hands right away and I was scratching. And it was a mess, dude. Just terrible feeling. Terrible. Also, because the hairs are kind of like little barbs, should you get those in your eyes, that could be very serious. That means you could end up having to go to the hospital and have it surgically repaired or removed. So sometimes you will find keepers that will wear glasses or goggles when trying to rehouse a spider, because if they're not careful, which again, whenever I try to catch mine in cups, like I always try to make sure that anytime it's kicking hairs, it's kicking it into the cup itself. My mom was allergic to a spider bite. She got bit by one that wasn't particularly venomous, but still had to go to the yard to get treated. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, even if you have something like a black widow bite or a brown recluse, those can do some serious damage to your body. But even like a wolf spider or something that gets infected, yada, yada, yada. And again, if like in his case, his mom's allergic. So that means even the most average spider can make you feel sick and then feel like ass. So you just don't want it. And especially from some old world spiders where their venom is very toxic, at least to animals and stuff like that. So it would fuck us up, to a degree. We just don't want that. In conclusion, tarantula rehousing requires a careful planning and attention to detail, ensure a smooth and safe transition. True. By using the right methods, such as a bag, I don't use a bag. I don't know why. That's to me. Don't use a bag. Ever use a bag, because a spider can bite right through that shit. Bottle or cup techniques. Those two I would say, because I say myself, as I'll show you here. I haven't cut this up yet, but for the larger spiders, I would cut probably right on the hole here, keep this end open. I would then drill a hole through the cap. And the reason why we do this is basically place it on top of the spider. It will crawl in there, usually crawl up in here. Can't get out through this end, of course. And the reason why we have a small hole is I would take like a little brush or something thin that I can, as I put them back into their new enclosure, I can shoosh them down. Sometimes they're a little bit smarter and they don't want to do that. So don't think this is like a foolproof thing to get your spiders to do what you want them to do. They don't always do that. The other one, of course, the more one I use the most is, even though this is basically a smaller enclosure, it comes handy as a catch cup for my spider. So I would generally use these to transfer them from one enclosure to another. And all right. So back to this real quick. We're going to scroll up a little bit. Now, they say not to rehouse your tarantulas alone. That's not necessarily true, especially if you have someone that isn't like used to being around with spiders. So, like Missy's like, she's my wife is very curious about spiders and she likes some of the more beginner docile species, but she would be a little nervous with an old world, even though she was kind of there with me when I was doing my female OBT. But let's see, John, I know a couple of people that almost died from, yeah, man, I never want to get bit by one of them. I think I'm kind of lucky that they're not so much on the East Coast, so that's kind of a blessing. I think in Maryland, I saw maybe in the entire time I was there for over 20 years, I saw maybe 5 black widows. In Colorado, when I lived there for 18 years, I must have seen 18 to 20 black widows. So they're much, much more out there in Colorado than they were in Maryland. Is it good to have a backup catch-up? Oh, yes, always. And even Dave's little beasties will tell you the same thing, like no matter what. Now, For myself, uh, unlike some people, you don't you kind of have to use the space you're in. So most people like Dave's, he has his own room like I do, but his is much bigger than mine. He does all his stuff in there. So even if the spider gets out, it might get behind some of his other enclosures, which could be a problem, but he's dealt with that stuff. He's been in the business for 40 years, so he has so much experience dealing with spiders. Me, I've got like a little mud room. We've moved to a new place here in Delaware. I've got a mud room that's very small, and all I gotta do is like put towels around the bottom of the closet door in the utility closet, and then that's where I do like my main transfer from my old world species because I just don't want them to get out. That's the risk. I don't want them to get out and hurt the animals like cats because the cats don't know any better. They just see it and say, "Oh, look, a play toy," and that's a OBT would probably kill it. So I don't want that to happen. Uh, Obviously, if like Nancy's my OBT, if he got out and I didn't know where he was because he's got places he can go into events, and it'd just be a nightmare. Like, it's one of those things where like you jokingly say, "I'm just going to burn it all down." Like, you know what I mean? You just don't want to fuck around with that kind of spider running around the house. CBBB, yeah, Black Wizard coming to Missouri. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, tarantulas in Missouri? Really? Now I have heard about the ones that kind of group up. Those are generally, I think those are like generally like Mexican redlegs or maybe Arizona blondes. I don't know for sure, but I know that like Kingdom of the Spiders, even though that was a bit of a fictitious account of how the things unraveled in that movie, like there are spiders that congregate, but most time we think of the Balfour. Those ones are the ones that can be in a commune, but those aren't ones that usually live out in Missouri or anything like that. So they're more exotic, but I do think there's certain species that will at least tolerate being around each other enough. And I think the Mexican redleg is probably one because they're the more common spider in the U.S. All right, so back on here. Do not rehouse a tarantula alone. Just depends on where you are. In the case of the girl that is doing the video we're going to watch, she probably should have someone else there. Keep calm, always important. Always important. That's not always easy because I've had a pink toe jump on my arm once and it startled the shit out of me, but luckily it didn't hurt it or me. Read the tarantula's body language prior to moving. A little bit trickier than it says because in some cases a spider will get defensive right away. In other cases, it might just be chill. And then as you try to continue to move, it's when it starts to get annoyed. So its temperament can change drastically. Use a flat surface or close to the ground. Very true, because you don't want the spider to fall because like their bodies are very frail and they can shatter. So you don't want that to happen either. Let's see. I wanted one more thing, which I think I was just going to talk about, and it's pretty much what I had talked about a minute ago with the cup and bottle. So the second way to move a tarantula is to, like I said, the cup or the container that I have, and then of course the bottle, which I said both very good and very helpful, especially with more defensive species. You don't want them if you're worried about them getting out or getting loose. Those ways are almost the easiest ones to do, and that's the way you want to go about doing it. So my advice, do that. All right, let's see. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're talking about this. That's one thing I was lucky, man, because Salem's not, aggressive species. She's not poisonous, but she's big enough that even if I hadn't seen her and I happened to step in her way and she just wanted to bite me, she could. It would hurt, but it wouldn't kill me or even make me sick, really. But wouldn't want that. That's pretty cool. I didn't think they were up that high in Missouri, but that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They even say that with sharks. You don't want to be panicking. Even though it'd be scary as fuck. All right, well, let's get into our first video. This is from Jen's Peculiar Exotics. Like I said, this isn't a way for me to put her on blast or anything, but I thought when I watched some of this early on that it was very reckless. And I know Anthony and I watched another guy, Exotics Lair, and he very reckless with how he deals with his species, his collection. So I don't recommend these people, not to be spiteful. I wouldn't recommend them as people to look forward to when you're dealing with the hobby because, like I said, it's way too risky for you, for the spider, and for the animals that you might have in the house. Especially if you're working alone. Both of them, I think, do things on their own. So it would be very, very risky for those type of spiders to get out on the loose. Yeah.
Girl. Oh, shoot. Dang. Freaking butthole. Oh my god. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. You are watching My Peculiar Exotics. Today I'm going to be rehousing one of my most feared tarantulas, which is my OBT, or also known as the orange bitey thing, or also known as the orange baboon tarantula. Now this is an old world species and they do possess medically significant venom, but today I'm going to show you the other side of them that people don't usually get to see, which is not really highlighted. Usually you guys just see them threatening, stomping, and fangs exposed, everything, but I'm going to show.
Yeah, I can attest to the stomping because one time, even like, and Nancy's only about this big, like my male, and so he's still fucking feisty. And like, I had some tongs in front of him, and he smacked it, and I felt it for a little spider. I felt that shit. Like, he wasn't fucking around with me.
Show you another side of this spider that is really docile and really shy. They are not the monsters that people make them out to be, and as long as they are kept.
Well, they are skittish, but most spiders are. So most tarantulas would rather run. Even in fact, a lot of my old world species will run. Like, it's funny because Neko and I laugh about my Brazilian black. He's a male, and they're supposed to be one of the more docile species in the hobby, but he's not really aggressive, but he is not shy. So like, if I even go to water his bowl, or if I even open up his door, he's starting to crawl towards me. Like, he's curious. So unlike the other ones, like the more venomous spiders I have, they will run, hide back in their hides. All of them, doesn't matter how big they are, they just keep running. Maybe except for Ikatomi. Lately, Ikatomis have been kind of like just sitting there, like, I've got my eyes on you. Yeah. Even the more aggressive species, their first instinct is to run away, but in the enclosure, there's nowhere to run to. Yeah, well, yeah, and that's why a lot of times, like even now, like I'm probably going to have to move Ikatomi, my Toga Starburst baboon, into a much larger container or enclosure because they tend to, like, even Dave will tell you, they tend to like keep their spiders in relatively smaller enclosures so that it's easier for them to find prey. But for me, a lot of times when I drop prey, even if they're still in their hides, I just drop it down in the hide and they usually get it anyway. But I like having room. So when we watch Dave's video later, he's moving his OBT into an enclosure that has no doors. It's just a top. I don't do that because I'm too nervous and my sanity would be just out the door trying to move an OBT into a place where I didn't have more access to how I'm going to get it in there. And but like I said, my Toga, you know, she's kind of like in this smaller, it's almost like a 12 by 12 by 12, I think. No, not quite that big. It's 8 by 8 by 12, I think. But she's so big now that it's like, it's time to kind of move her. But I had to, you know, it costs money for those type of enclosures that I have room for, because even with the shelves in there now, it's filling up fast. It's not as nice as I was hoping. I thought initially when we were moving here it was a bit longer. So I thought I would have more shelving space, but once we moved in, I was like, it's much tighter than I remembered it being. But it is still very helpful. The cats don't get in there; they can't fuck around with them, and I can keep it warmer in there, cooler out here, so I'm not sweating my dick off every time, like at the old place. So let's see. Yeah, typical animal behavior, even those snakes run away and hide, but there's nowhere to go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Now the OBTs generally they're just assholes. Like they generally are just assholes. They don't want to put up with shit. And mine and Nancy is in a very small enclosure, so and it works for him because he spends his time in his little hide like all the time. He'll come out every once in a while overnight if I have the lights off. But like the minute I might open the door, he'll like run back into the hide. So he's not looking to get into a fight. Like he just doesn't want to do that.
Correctly, they are fine. They're not going to bother you. Yeah, they'll still like threat pose you and stomp at you from like their enclosure, but they'll never like come out unless you like seriously antagonize them, which I don't recommend you do at all. So, and then I also have another tarantula. It's one of my favorites, but it is my Amazon Blue Bloom, and I'm also going to be rehousing that one as well. So without further ado, let's get into this video.
You could hear the hesitation in her voice.
Cup nearby, just in case she does go flying somewhere. She usually stays within the perimeter of her home, but she is pretty fast because she is an old world species, and these guys do move much quicker than your new worlds. But I gotta get her out of her little nest here. Actually, I'm gonna start pulling this web.
Now you can see she's already, it looks like she's in her living room or something. And like, to me, that's already a big no-no because the spider can jet off anywhere. And then you have to try to hunt it down. So if it gets underneath a table or a couch or whatever, like you're really asking for mega fucking trouble. Yeah, it's coming.
This is why I start pulling web with, like, especially a species like this, is because they're so defensive that you might as well just make it easier for yourself. And sometimes that means doing this.
Mm-hmm. Creeping.
Hi, girl. What's up? Now, you guys, this tarantula is not as bad as she really is made out to be. She's very shy. She doesn't really want to be messed with. See? Also known as the orange bitey thing. Oops. One of my favorites. Actually, I'm going to...
Yeah, so she already got nervous. Like, you don't want to do that. Like, even though it moved, it wasn't like gonna jump in your face. So she already dropped her brush like she didn't need to. Now, here's the other thing, too. Dave will tell you, like, when you're doing this, keep contact with your spider. So if you want her to move up, don't just prod her or poke her. Hold your brush against her back. And now, granted, because they're usually defensive, they will try to come back towards the brush. So you probably would have been better off trying to bring her out through the front with the brush, but she panics and then drops the brush, which you don't want to do that either.
Okay. Hi, Sriracha. What's up, girl?
She calls her Sriracha.
She's like, woman, how dare you mess with my webbing? It's fine. It'll be okay. Now, I'm going to use my paintbrush. I kind of want to put this leaf in there too, because you guys know I like to put their webbing.
That is actually a pretty laid back female, because so far she's not doing anything but sitting there. My male would be like so pissed. Yeah, she understands the risk there for sure. Which is why, again, I don't like where she's doing this. It's just a huge risk. Again, I know she's doing content, and like, I don't believe in this case she's doing it for any kind of clicks or to be edgy in any way, but it's probably more comfortable for her to do it there, but it's just a huge fucking risk, man. And like again, she would probably save herself so much problem right here if she had a bottle, because the bottle she can literally just put on top of the on the OBT right there, and the OBT would probably crawl up into it, try to get away and hide. From what I understand, transferring their webbing into a new enclosure actually helps reduce stress. Sometimes, yes, because they are familiar with the webbing itself, and so it's got their own little stink on it. I would leave the enclosure partly open, like a small opening. Well, sometimes you could do that. Not with the OBT. OBTs will generally run back to where they can hide, so it just makes it difficult. But because her old enclosure here is small, she should definitely be using a catch cup or a bottle. Like a bottle would be perfect here, because the spider's just sitting there waiting. And so if she hasn't learned the bottle trick, she probably needs to invest in that, because that's going to save her a lot of headache and stress to not only her, but the spider.
Stuff with their webbing in the new enclosure, so I think I might actually be able to, like, you guys see how calm she's being. They're really not that bad. Okay.
She's never met a Nancy. He's a fucking terror, man. He's fucking nobody. He doesn't give no shits about anybody. An enclosure that small probably wouldn't hurt to put it in a plastic tote first. Yes. And so here's the thing. Yes, even if the tarantula got out, it could climb up the tote itself too. But the advantage is you still have that extra space to work with. So even if it gets outside of this enclosure, it's not necessarily going to run all the way up the top. It might, but generally it won't. It will kind of like just sit at the bottom and try to hide some more. But then you can remove the old enclosure as long as the spider's not near it, and then just go and get your catch cup or bottle at that point. So yeah, Anthony, great point on that. I actually did that with Nancy when he was really small. Like I had him in a bigger ass box, and then when I got him out, now he started climbing up the corner, but he only went about halfway and he decided he's going to stop. So that's when I was able to get him and put him in his enclosure at that time. But that was the reason why I did that, because he was initially in like a little cup. And so to get him out, I had this big ass box that I could work with. So some people have said that you could try to put them in a bathtub and they can't climb up the sides, but then other people say that that's not really true. It's just a myth. I've never really tested it too much to see if it actually would happen. And at the time, my bathtub at the old place would be, I mean, I could probably do it my new one, but yeah, I don't know. That'd just be crazy.
No. Since she is being... Ooh.
Don't get jumpy. Don't. Calm. There you go.
I'm the one that's being jumpy.
Yeah.
She's being good.
I'm
using my tongs though, because I don't want her to, if she does like run up, I want space. Come on, girl.
Yeah, I fucking ended up, I'll show you what I got. I'm gonna get it real quick. So yeah, the very reason, and I don't want to blow this up too much. Let me see if I can. So I got this. It's basically just a pointer for a school, and it extends. So you can see how fucking far this thing extends. Did it come out? Yeah, it did. There we go. So it extends. It's just a pointer for school. But I made sure it's fucking long enough so that whenever I'm fucking dealing with these spiders, I don't have to be that close to it. Because I was using my tongs, but tongs are only about, say, that long at the most. So that's too risky for me. I don't want to be that close when dealing with the larger, more dangerous spiders. So even though she has her tongs there, that spider, if it chooses to run up, it'll be quick. And she has to be very careful.
Oh, shoot. Dang.
She's mad.
All right. There you go. There's a cup you can crawl into. Oh,
Yeah.
come on. Oh.
She doesn't want.
Oh.
Now, here's the other part of advice. Now, I know that money's always a thing when it comes to people that invest in their enclosures and stuff. So you notice she's going from one plastic enclosure to a larger plastic. It's not that that's really a problem. It's just that for me personally, whenever like a spider that size, I would be immediately putting it into a forever home. I wouldn't be putting her into this. I'd be saving my money if I had to, buying an enclosure from Ecoterra or whatever, and putting it into what I would consider her forever home. So I don't have to keep dealing with this transferring all the time, because it is stressful for a spider to have to keep getting moved around. Now, sometimes it's necessary as spiderlings, they grow, and you have to kind of do that. But some spiders, like right now, I have Mystique, and basically what will be her semi forever home, even though she'll get much larger, so I have to eventually move her to a bigger one. But for time being, she's fine. Like, I don't have her in, like, some people just go by steps. I don't. I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna put you in a big one. It's big enough to where you can find your food, and not too big where you're gonna get lost. This spider is big enough to go into her forever home, whatever that might be, which would be probably like a 12 by 12 or 8 by, not 8 by 8, but like a larger arboreal setup, like, or not. It doesn't even need to be arboreal; it could be terrestrial. They sometimes will spend time on the ground anyway. Nevertheless, like, this spider would be going into a much larger container, like a 12 by 12 by 24. I think I'd be putting her in.
Oh, girl. Now she's stressing. Okay. Let's try it this way. Ah!
Careful. Careful.
See, this is why I don't like to use the cup, because she's just gonna like...
Well, it's your cup is too small, because once you get her in there, there's not enough length, so she's gonna feel like she's gonna run out anyway. Yeah.
Fly around anyways. It's okay as long as she's not slapping at me. But I don't want her to be in my lap either. Come on, girl. It's okay. It's okay. Oh my gosh. Here she comes. Oh my god. Girl.
Now, see, granted, the spider want to stay where it can go hide, but should it decide to jump on the carpet, it'll be gone. It will find somewhere else to go, and it's fast. So, not ideal place to do this kind of work. Again, I'm not trying to put her on blast, but this is a risk that I just would not take, because you could hurt the spider, you could hurt yourself. It doesn't look like she has any animals around currently, so that's good. But let's say she has a dog or a cat and they just happen to come across it. If it gets lost in the house, well, then you're fucked. Like, that could be a real problem.
Walk your bum into this enclosure. No, don't go in there.
Yep.
But for real, I am like not playing with her anymore. Come on. Come on. Now, before she comes over here, freaking. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
No. Yes. Good tarantula. She's doing laps. She's doing laps. There you guys go. That is your OBT, orange baboon tarantula. Okay. See that? Oh.
Stay contacted.
Come on.
You had it. Just stay contacted.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Go this way. Go this way.
Contact.
little spider. Boo-ba-doo. Look, you guys, she's really not that mean. Come on. Stop fighting me.
She's not very cooperative.
Stop fighting me. She's like, I will do what I please. Come on. And I'm just gonna guide her. Come on. Where are you going? That's not even where you're supposed to go. At least I'm comfortable with her now. And I know she's not gonna like spaz out on me, per se. Where are you going? Come on.
She's gonna go walkabout.
Get back in there. Get in there. Get your little butt.
Yeah, you're gonna want to get it on the ground.
There you go, girl. Oh! Shoot! Dang! Freaking butthole.
This is why, again, my opinion, have an exoterra enclosure for her, because she's big enough to live in one now. So these are not the best to try to keep these type of spiders. They're adequate, but they're not the best. You can see she can easily run around. If she would have had a hide ready inside the exoterra with the top on, and she was putting this little cup into that and directing the spider out, the spider would have went into the hide and you would have been done with it. This would not be an issue right now. Again, and of course, she's still, like I said, she's in her living room. So it's like, if that spider chooses just to get off and take off, you're in big trouble.
Oh my god. I'm so glad I'm taking a video of this. Because, yeah, honestly, this is what it's like to rehouse one of these things. Like, this species in particular, they're so fast, and like, as soon as you think you got them in there, they take off. I'm just letting her walk because my heart's beating pretty fast with all this nonsense. Ooh, I'm gonna take a thumbnail. Come on. What's going on? She says it's gonna take me 4 business days to get into this enclosure. I'm just really happy she's not being a jerk. Come on, girl. I really want you to go into your new house.
Something tells me, though, the females of the species are a little bit more easy to deal with, because between mine and hers and Dave's, they don't seem to be nearly as pissy as the male is.
That would make me very happy.
That's
use 2 hands. Oh.
There you go.
Wow. Did we just give up? Okay. Make sure those toes are in there all the way. I don't want to get any of them. Okay. Perfect. Big spider in the enclosure. No toes, no toes. Look at her. Cool. Next. We're gonna get this girl into a new enclosure, and I'm excited.
Okay, so I'm not gonna worry about doing that one, just because I've wanted to show mainly OBT there. Well, it's typical male behavior to be aggressive and territorial. Females, will be more easier going unless it's a shark. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's like one thing you're going to see in Dave's video next, which, he points out, is that each spider is kind of like different. They all have their own like characteristics and their own temperament. So, like I said, my Brazilian black male doesn't really behave like your normal docile species. Like, it's not going to hurt you, but he's very more inquisitive than a Brazilian black would be. Like he doesn't mind kicking hairs at you and all that shit either. So he's a lot different than some of the other Brazilian blacks I've seen. So it just depends on the species or on the person that has or the type of spider it is. Like, they all have their own individual patterns of behavior. So yeah, so I when it comes to like rehousing information on tarantulas, I always recommend Dave's Little Beasties, because the guy's been in the business for about 40 years. He's very good at what he's doing. I've seen him where a spider that could have venom has run up his arm and he did not flinch. He just kept calm, did his thing, and got it back in. But he's not an idiot. So he also will tell you the best ways to try to rehouse a spider, and he's always very consistent in how he does it in terms of like, like I'll let him show you because I took this video. It was actually longer, so I'll put the links to their channels in the description box for both of them. But you'll be able to see in the clips that I took from the one that Dave has, like how he's moving his female OBT into his new enclosure, which again, he's using an enclosure with no doors on the side. I can't do that. My sanity would go crazy. I can't do that. But he's been doing it much longer and much better at it than I am. So let's watch him.
We've taken a bit of flack over the years because we've stuck them in our arboreal enclosures. Everyone says they're a terrestrial spider. Well, they are, in the strictest terms, classed as a terrestrial spider. But these guys will web up to 2 feet off the floor without any issues whatsoever. And the reason they do this is because they live in the bottom of the shrubbery. So if there's a bush, close, low-lying bush in the ground, they will web up into the branches and they can end up 2 feet off the floor without any issues at all. They will also burrow as well. So although not strictly an arboreal spider, they have been known to web up way above the floor. And so this means that we can, as a hobbyist, we can play around with that, and we can either keep them arboreally or we can keep them terrestrially. Today, we're going to set this girl up in more of what we would class as a terrestrial type setup, although it is going to have a bit of a mix to it. There's going to be access for her to go from the top or the bottom. It's all down to her, what she wants to do. So we're going to do it in a 30 by 30 by 30 cube. This is a Komodo here. It's a top opening one, fully meshed top opening. And all we're going to do is fill this with Beastie Mix. Now, the reason we've gone for this enclosure is because we like the design. We like the open glass here. It's nothing to do with it being a top opening enclosure. We have front opening enclosures for our OBTs as well. Now I can hear some of you gasping, thinking, oh my God, I wouldn't have a front opening enclosure with an OBT.
No. For me personally, that's what I'm going with. That's all I'm going with. Because like I said, I like having the access for when I move my OBT or any kind of spider that I have to worry about, you know, any kind of bites or anything like that, speed, whatever. I got to make sure I have access so they can, even though they might run, I can at least have a top closed so they can't run out the top, but they'll just run into their hides or whatever. That's the key. That's a big enough enclosure that even when you see him put the spider in there, that you can see he's got room to work with. But for me, I'm still a bit too nervous to kind of do these kind of enclosures. Plus, I like having easier access for crickets and stuff when I don't put them in. It's just, I like doors. I'm more of a door guy personally.
They're not as bad as you first think. Once you get to understand them, they really aren't that bad. Although they must be treated as individuals. Every now and again, we get one. We might have one here. We don't know yet. We don't open the box. But we might find out she might be one of the more defensive ones. Remember that these guys do have a bit of a reputation. And they're one of the spiders in the hobby that create a real stir. You know, people get very excited about these guys. And it's because of their defensive attitude. They are an old world spider, and they are a baboon species. So, generally speaking, with all of the baboon species, they are relatively quick to defend themselves while we're in there. Now, we got our catch cup down the side here, just in case we need it. Just in case she decides to go
catch cup
on a bit of a walkabout.
That is a fucking healthy female. She's been eating good.
So we'll leave that there, nice and close to hand. Now you can see this absolutely beautiful colouring, and you get the idea of where they get the
and like I said, now in Dave's case, he has like all this experience with these spiders. So you see the size of this enclosure. This spider's much too large for this. Now, granted, that's why he's rehousing it, but I would have personally removed her long before she got to this size, because this is like scary shit right here. This is like Daniel Miller scary shit here.
The orange bitey thing, or the OBT. That's not always a good idea with a spider like this. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the lid back on top until we pick the box up. Now, the reason being that as soon as we put that back on there like that, we know she's safe. She can't go anywhere. The minute we pick this box up, vibration tells her that she is on the move. So what we're going to do, we're now going to take the lid off. Now, because we're tilting this downwards, her immediate reaction is to come up the top. So what we're going to do, because it's a defensive spider, we are going to touch her at the back. Most people would be tempted to touch her from the front, where she will react. If we touch her from the back, she should react and turn and face the paintbrush. That's the theory. So what we're going to do, we're just going to touch her leg. Very, very gently. Now you see that. Now this is giving us a little cue as to how she's going to respond. She's being very, very gentle. We don't really want her coming up the box. So what we're going to do now, we're going to change it around. We're reading our spider all the time.
Now, in my case, if I was in this position, I would not be holding this. So I would have kept the lid on top until I set the cup down inside the enclosure, to which I would have taken my trusty thing here, and I would have coaxed her out probably by the side between her abdomen and where her carapace is. I would have kind of pushed her gently out that way so that she would have come in without startling her too much to run.
We're hoping that she's going to stay lovely and well behaved. So now we're going to get our contact again.
Yeah, so right where he is, that's where I would be doing. But I would have set the cup down, because if she would have sprang, it could have been up towards my hand or, you know, outside the cup like the other girl had. So like, because especially with the Nancy, who's much more feisty, he's just somebody that likes to run a lot. So even me just touch him a little bit, he gets very pissy. So unlike this one here, this one's very well behaved, very calm. So that definitely depends on the temperament of the spider you're dealing with.
Again, there we go. No, notice there, absolutely no threat posture whatsoever.
And so there you go.
I'm sure she'll be excited, but
yeah, so you see the difference on how one person handles it versus the other. Now, the other girl, she may not have enough experience with dealing transfer, and even I don't have the experience that Dave has. That's why I say when I watch him, I say to myself, well, how am I going to handle this situation that he's doing? Well, he has it in a box, which I would have had, but then I would have basically left the box in the bottom of the enclosure, and then I would have coaxed the spider out gently so I can get it to just come out and then scurry into its hide. And that's the difference for me, like, because Dave has been dealing with these spiders for many, many years, so he knows exactly how they operate. But at the same time, he has had experiences where I've watched his videos where spiders don't do what he wants and they get on the loose. You should see his video at the Balfour. It's the most hilarious thing, because he's putting them in this big ass enclosure. There's like 30 of them. So every time he's putting one in, they're scurrying out the top, and he has to go back and wrangle them back in like sheep. And it's just so funny. If an OBT bites, it's going to double tap or triple tap. Yeah, they're not afraid to hit you a couple times, and that's the thing. Like, again, you don't want to be bit by these spiders. It just makes you very sick and very painful, especially the bigger they are, the bigger the fangs. And as Anthony pointed out, they aren't afraid to bite you twice, like some snakes will do. So again, no offense to Jen at all, but like, I don't like her situation. I don't like the setup there. A little bit too much of a risk for me, especially in my own house. I would not do that. I just would not want a spider like that to get on the loose and then cause problems where I had to literally go spend days trying to find it, because otherwise it's going to be living rent free in my head while it's out there. Salem was gone for 3 days before we found her. 3 days. And she's about the size of my hand. So think about that. A spider that size could avoid being detected for 3 days. Now imagine a spider like a Nancy who's like maybe the size of both my fingers and on the loose, and I can't find him. And since he's a climber, these overhead lights I've got behind him, there's like a little thing that you can actually crawl into. It's like you probably can crawl right on top of the roof, not the roof, but the ceiling part in between the housing. So there's vents. It would just be a nightmare. I can't do that. Like, you can't have that happen. So I'm thankful that I've never had a foobar with leaving one of my more, exotic species doors open by accident. So that's one thing that I have to make sure that I'm always paying attention to with my spiders. And then transferring, I take them into my mud room. It's a controlled environment. Even if the spider gets out, it's a short enough room where if it gets on the ceiling, I can still get it. It's not going to get under any cracks. Like, I've got it under control if it happens to get out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this because the guy for Exotic Lairs, he seems like a fun dude and he really is passionate about his hobby himself, but he's a bit reckless on how he deals with his spiders, both to himself and the spiders. So I don't like that kind of behavior because I think it's more just pandering to your audience as far as like clicks and stuff like that. But everyone does it their own way. That's just how it is. And, to kind of live with that. But I can't highly recommend Dave's Little Beasties enough because the guy just knows how to do it and does it right. In my opinion, he treats them with respect. He's one person that would tell you straight up that spiders are not really meant to be held. I agree to that. Yeah, I've seen people hold some very dangerous species and more power to them. But the day that you get bit, I'm not going to feel bad for you. It's just, I'm not, you're just playing with fire at some point with that. But they don't have any emotions. Spiders are just creatures of habit, and they like to eat, sleep, and that's it, and web. That's it. So that's basically it, guys. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I'm glad that Big Bad Wolf and Anthony and the rest of you that were watching came by to watch this a little bit because I thought it was important to kind of discuss about the hobby itself. I mean, I'm certainly no massive expert, but I do learn a lot from Dave's Little Beasties, and I appreciate that guy's out there because I can't imagine trying to take advice from people that are reckless. I just find that very dangerous. Like I said, not just to yourself. Something can happen to the spider or your other animals in the house. If you had children, it'd be a nightmare. It'd just be a nightmare because some of these people that do the hobby have kids. And it's risky, man. I couldn't do that. Just could not do that. So I highly recommend. In fact, that information I showed you on the website is from a place called spiderswebhq.com. And they give a breakdown how to handle rehousing and stuff like that. So that's very good information to have. And let's see. Dave is so fun. And I've actually talked to him occasionally behind the scenes a little bit when I had questions. And he's the kind of guy that will answer you if you have questions. Like he has a big following, so it's like very, very cool guy. He knows what he's doing. The way he does his enclosures, like I've been trying to do my enclosures the way he does. He makes it look so beautiful. Me, I'm like, my shit dies. My plants die. My moss dies. I can't do what he does, but dude, he is very good at what he does. He's very, very good and very fun-loving guy. Can't recommend him highly enough. All right. Well, I'm not going to bore you anymore. Let me tell you what a little bit's coming on the rest of the week. Wednesday, Ghouls at Midnight. I believe Mr. Anthony is going to be with us to discuss Hard Eyes, which came out this year. So that's Tony's pick is Hard Eyes from 2025. I haven't watched it yet. I've got the link for it, but once I watch that, we're going to review that. I don't know what my pick's going to be yet, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get to another episode of Ghouls this week, but so far we will definitely get Tony's out of the way. Then on Thursday, I'll be joined by Mr. Anthony again for my Kaiju Spotlight for Batra, the Kaiju Spotlight. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk a little about that creature, which I don't know a whole lot about, but definitely saw the movie with it. So we will sit there and discuss that and what the possibilities and maybe seeing it in the future is. And then, of course, Friday, I have a special birthday thing for my upcoming birthday on the 24th. I'm doing a versus between the anthology of Tales of Halloween versus Trick or Treat 2007. So I'm going to have a panel of guests. We're going to talk about the movies, and then we're going to vote which one we think is the best of the two. I'm hoping that Fat Samurai Guy and Rob from ETN will be there. I know Fat right now is kind of dealing with illness, so he's kind of sick under the weather right now. So I'm hoping he's okay by the time Friday rolls around. Fingers crossed. And then Saturday, I'll be on Century's channel at 4 p.m. Eastern for a live review of Godzilla versus Gigan. So there's going to be another panel of people as we talk about that movie. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So thank you all for joining me today. And definitely I will see you on the next time here on the Military Man Podcast, and take care of yourselves.
You see before you die. Find the blood.